We have a trade in the NFL as defensive linemen hit the ground in workouts at the NFL Scouting Combine. The Jets and Titans making a swap, and the 6 biggest winners on the defensive line at the Combine on today's NFL Six Pack.
This is Locked On's NFL Six Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff. Just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Combine in full swing now. We're getting measurements, and we are getting 40 times workouts, vertical jumps, and some really impressive athletes in this 2026 draft class on display on the defensive line is where we are going to start here today, Matt. And then before they even started the workouts, we had a trade this morning, and it's the Tennessee Titans and the New York Jets are swapping defensive linemen. So T'Vondre Sweat, big nose tackle type, is on his way to New York from the Titans, and Robert Saleh bringing in one of his own that he drafted with the New York Jets, Jermaine Johnson, to be a defensive end, which was a big need for this Tennessee Titans defense. And 2 players maybe that didn't fit great where they were now fit great where they are. So love the trade, and really fun way to kick off the defensive line workouts, and it might indicate exactly where these teams are going with pick 2 and pick 4 in the NFL draft as well. You can get a lot better idea when you know who's going number 1 if you're picking number 2.
Yeah, and I do think this trade is very telling in that, you mentioned off the air, and I think it's pretty clear the Jets want to run in a 3-4, an odd front, and Sweat will be their nose. They don't have anybody really resembling that, or someone as good and young on a rookie contract. He's had 2 very good seasons. Johnson is more of a traditional 4-3 defensive end and a good player, but he's getting to the point where you have to pay him, and I don't know that they would want to do that considering the scheme situation. But my first thought from the Jets' perspective was, well, they're probably going to draft Reese and put him on the other side of McDonald as those stand-up, edge outside linebacker type guys. And at 2, I have a feeling they've already fallen in love with Reese. As for the Titans, I don't know their defensive tackle depth chart well enough, but I really liked Sweat next to Simmons. I don't know if there's another guy, in the wings there that is ready to step up, a 5th-round pick, I don't know, or something like that. But they can still acquire them. They have the most cap space in the league. There's a lot of guys they could go after to fix that need. And I kind of made the joke on another channel that I wonder, did they have a deal in place with the Jets and say, if Reuben Bain's arms are 32 or over, I'm not going to do it. If it's 32 or under, I want Johnson, Yeah,
it's funny that was the first thing that came to mind. I think the trade did happen before the measurements.
I wasn't sure it's close.
Yeah, but it did feel like, oh man, Reuben Bain's arms are 30 7/8, sub 31 inches. We are not going to take him for. Let's go get an edge, and we're going to draft Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Love at pick 4, right? And maybe go defensive tackle to replace Sweat now at the top of the 2nd round, where there's a lot of great candidates that might be in that early 2nd round area at defensive tackle, which I think would be probably the plan of attack. So, until further notice, the mock drafts for me going forward for the Tennessee Titans are going to be probably Carnell Tate to help out your young quarterback at wide receiver at number 4, and one of these defensive tackles at the top of round 2.
I think it's a great observation. I hadn't thought of that, in terms of where do they pivot to. But the edge situation, I think, is pretty well clipped. And they'll add a lot of bodies in free agency, too. Maybe that's subject to change. But I think that's probably the way they see it, because we're going to get into some of these defensive tackles. There isn't a super high-end top 10 defensive tackle in this draft from the looks of things. But you start looking at the turn, it's a pretty good spot for them.
There might be. There might be movement, because I think after, just the blue chippers at the top, And there's not as many maybe than there was in some other years. I think there's an opportunity for a lot of different players to go in a lot of different orders. And I just think that the way that all these guys are shaped so differently, every team is going to look at these prospects very different. We're going to get to one guy who helped himself a lot at the combine, could be a big time riser here through the draft process in Caleb Banks when we get to our 6-pack of players that maybe help themselves the most. But just on this topic, I think we have to start with someone who maybe hurt themselves the most. And, Reuben Bain is clearly going to be a first-round draft pick, but maybe it's the difference of going top 4 and going top 15 instead for Reuben Bain with his weigh-in. And it's really difficult because you don't want to overrate. And we talked about this on our mailbag show yesterday, Matt. You're kind of looking for, you're not going to, double count speed or anything like that. You don't want to change your board versus what you saw on tape, but there might be players that don't hit certain thresholds for you. And is arm length a red flag for Reuben Bain? As good of a player as he was, he's surely learned how to maneuver around short arms at the college level and is a monster of a player. But Reuben Bain's official weigh-in numbers, he was 6'2 and a quarter, 263 pounds, 9 1/8 inch hands, and 30 7/8 inch arms. So not only sub 32 where you want your defensive ends to be at a minimum, he was sub 31. Decent wingspan for short arms because he's kind of a stockier,
wider chest
player, but he's not in the upper echelon of wingspan either. So that's not going to be a big positive for him. Even if you take away the arm length and just look at wingspan, he's still just kind of okay there and still probably below average for a defensive end in the NFL. He did not run, so we don't have any times for him. So really not a great day for Reuben Bain. I think teams already knew that he was going to come in with short arms. There was rumors that, during spring testing, he had some very short arms, potentially sub 31 inches. There was also some chatter though that, who did the testing? How did they test it? Maybe they
That's my first thought.
Then a different part on the shoulder, different place on the wrist, and maybe it could look differently. And there were some mistakes made in that other testing, but apparently not. That's very short, Matt. And those arms are so short that you can't find a player that was drafted in the top 100 in the last 25 years. And you can't find good, super productive NFL players with that short of arms. And so it is not nothing for Reuben Bain, even though he's such a good college player. And I think he's still going to be a good pro, but there's no comps for him. You can't go say, hey, even like you're trying to stretch all these comps. You go, Melvin Ingram is maybe shaped similarly. Melvin Ingram was longer, bigger, taller across the board still. And he was like super outlier, short-armed player. Micah Parsons, 31 and a half, still has much bigger arm length than Reuben Bain. So that this is a tough one. And I just don't know how much stock to put into that, but I do think it's going to keep him from being one of the first 4 picks in the NFL draft.
Oh, I do too. And because you laid it out well in that, yes, the arms are short, but they're unusually short and they are a true outlier. And this is a type of player, a power player that wants to get his hands on you. I mean, as a run defender, as a bull rusher, I mean, he usually is not going to win with just pure acceleration off the edge, dip and rip, and just run by people. I mean, like a Benito. I think Benito's another shorter armed guy. I think this hurts him dramatically just because he's so far the one way on this one. I mean, just such an outlier. I mean, it's not even close.
Right. I've got some notes actually on Benito and my comp for Benito coming up here in a little bit for a prospect we're going to talk about. With the wingspan thing and, when you do a long arm move, and for Reuben Bain, maybe we should call it a short arm move, but you see it sometimes on tape, but, you kind of move your body sideways. It's not like you're,
right.
You're putting your arm forward, you're moving your body. And so you're extending it. So wingspan and
it doesn't give them much to hit.
Yeah. So you can kind of, maybe that plays up a little bit more.
But then they know that's your only move too.
After a while, it's actually not really length. It's more getting under a guy and doing the hump move and kind of tossing him, And I know that there's been a lot of comps about Mike Tyson out there and, getting inside and that is kind of a good comp for Bain and how he wins. But I mean, again, you're talking about an outlier player. So you just have to really love the player and love the tape. And you're you're okay with taking the outlier because that's what it is. But Matt, if we're talking outliers with arm length, you know who came in even shorter than Reuben Bain?
Before we do, I want to throw one example out there that maybe could work in his favor. I remember when Terrell Suggs came out of Arizona State. Super productive, great college football player. He's going to go really, really high. And then, like, all his numbers were terrible.
Bad testing, shorter arms too, but I think he was 32 plus.
It wasn't as bad arm length as this, but his 40 was terrible, and all his testing was bad. And then he ends up on a good team, and now he's like borderline Hall of Famer, you know?
Oh, there we go. It's muted. Yeah. It's like, never mind, he's an awesome player. And so that's probably what'll end up happening with Bain. But again, who's going to be the team with the guts to just say, you know what, it's and it'll probably just be like an obvious pick where it's like he starts falling to pick 11, and you're like, you know what, we got to take Reuben Bain now. And
some good team just gets him, and it's a playoff team or whatever. You know,
I still like him to potentially the Chiefs.
I was thinking Kansas City.
Yeah. Is that a good landing spot for him? He's
a
not
win now team.
It's not like he's going to fall out of the first round or anything like that, I don't think. But again, like, you know, it might be the difference in going pick 2 or 4 or not.
Oh yeah, I think top 5 is probably out of the question at this point.
And here's the thing: there's nobody. You can't even say, hey, this player did it, because nobody's done it at quite that short of arm length. Not even been drafted in the top 100. Here's this though: Cassius Howell's arm length was even shorter.
I know. And
this is where Cassius Howell's arm length is, by the way, 6'2.5", 253 pounds for Cassius Howell, which is solid. 9 1/4 arm length, 30 and looks like 30 and a half inch arms. No, 30 and a quarter inch arms.
30 and a quarter.
30 and a quarter inch arm length for Cassius Howell, which which is not even, we're not even talking about top 100 picks. There's not been an edge rusher drafted since 1999.
Really?
With
that short.
Period. So there is no comp for these guys. So that's the scary part. They are true outliers. And it's wild that both these guys are projected first round players coming out in the same year with this one arm length issue. Because usually the arm length's short, and even 32 teams are like, I wish it was 34 inch arms, but 33 is okay. 32 is cutting it close. 30 and a quarter. There's no comparison there.
Yeah. And the thing that people don't think about is there's a human element to this where whoever's in charge, whether it's your head coach or likely your GM, that's going to make your first round decision, you have to walk up to your owner who's heavily involved in the early part of the draft and say, I'm going to take this guy, and no one in history like him has ever been successful. You know what I mean? Like, that's the conversation.
What's crazy is if you just take the arm length and wingspan out of it for Cassius Howell, coming in at 6'2.5", 253, he ran 4.59. He had the best 10-yard split of all the defensive linemen that I'm seeing here at 1.58 in the 10-yard split. I mean,
yeah, the rest is great.
That's a win. His explosive numbers with the vertical is not insane. 32.5 inches, 9.7 broad. So that's not great. But you see him fly around the corner. He has that, you know, and solid. He was over 250 pounds, 6'2.5". I don't know if you expect him to be, you know, I think he might've been listed at 6'4", but I think we always know that they're not coming in at 6'4" with those listings.
Over 250 is good for him though.
Yeah. But the length, it's tough. And he was already kind of a late first round guy. There's going to be a little bit of a slide. It's going to have to be the right perfect team for Cassius Howell that is okay with the length profile that, again, we don't really have any comps for.
Yeah, I can't imagine he goes in the first round though. If you're borderline, I think that's enough to bounce you.
Yeah. We got to move on. There are some players that really helped themselves, and one that I'm not sure, did he help himself or did he not? Did he solidify himself as the number 2 pick in the NFL draft in Arvell Reese from Ohio State? Next. Today's episode of NFL Six Pack is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, we've seen it. Deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this show. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's episode is also brought to you by Home Chef. As the new year keeps rolling along and a lot of people trying to simplify their routines. I am one of them. Dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. It's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. There's over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple, but feel elevated, saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. And for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive that free dessert. Arvell Reese, did he help himself or did he hurt himself? 6'4" and an eighth, 241 pounds with 32.5-inch arm length, Matt. I saw a lot of people immediately respond to that saying, now we have clarification. Arvell Reese is an off-ball linebacker in the NFL. I looked at that and I said, maybe not so fast with that because Arvell Reese is a guy, Matt, that is working out at both linebacker and defensive line at the combine. He said he wanted to do that coming in. He's clearly a fit for both positions in the NFL, depending on what team wants to use him based on his tape. He plays with some physicality that you would think would be okay on the edge. And the fact that he's working out at off-ball linebacker, I would think if he was focusing purely on being an edge rusher, if a team drafted him to do that, you could put on 5 pounds.
That's what I'm saying. What's his body frame look like? Yeah, right.
And heck, he might be 245 by his pro day if that's what he wants to do. Yeah. So you don't think he can gain 9 pounds by year 2 in the NFL and be 6'4", 250?
Because he's really young too.
Yes.
I bet he's to get to 255 in no time.
And so here's the thing. Here's the Nick Bonito comp. Nick Bonito, 6'3" flat. So he's over an inch taller than Nick Bonito was. Nick Bonito was 248 pounds, so 7 pounds heavier, identical arm length. So the profile is very similar to a guy who's one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. And I think Arvell Reese plays with more physicality than Nick Bonito did coming out.
Yeah, I'd say as the prospect Bonito,
yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
And more versatility, probably a little more snap in his hips, a little bit more explosiveness.
Better going in reverse if you want to use him to drop back at times, right? In a linebacker role. So I have no problems with him being an edge at that size, and I think he could be 6'4", 250 all day long if that's what you want him to be going forward in the NFL. And we might need to just lock him into number 2 now. And
I think I am,
which is a bummer because there's, we don't get to have any fun in the NFL draft until pick 3 now.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably still bigger than Will McDonald, who's probably the other edge on the other side of him.
Yeah, Will McDonald was 240. He might have been like 239 or something like that.
Yeah, real narrow waist. And, right.
Brian Burns was not a heavy guy coming into the draft, right? Slim. He was a little taller, a little bit longer arms, but
and you always have the fallback plan to just make him a linebacker if he's getting pushed around. I mean, that's not what you want, but at least you have a fallback plan too.
The thing where you start talking about off-ball linebacker is if he would have shown up at 6'2.5" and 230 something, right? And then you're like, okay, well, he doesn't even have the frame to really be that big, and maybe you'd have to worry. So I think he's a winner, to be honest with you, and I think Arvell Reese is an edge if you want him to be.
And I don't think he turns 21 until like deep into training camp too. Like he's going to get heavier.
So Arvell Reese, I don't think we have, let me double check. We don't have any workout numbers. I think he's actually running with the linebackers. So
I assume. Yeah.
We don't have the linebacker now. We have heights and weights for linebackers, and there's some freaky dudes, some serious length at linebacker in this class, by the way. We'll talk more about those guys. some 40-inch verticals out there with the linebacker class as well. I'm seeing. How about a 43.5-inch vertical for Sonny Styles? Just came down.
Was it really?
Wow, 6'5", 2. Talk about edge rusher if he wants to be. 6'5", 244 for Sonny Styles. 10-inch hands, 32 7/8 arm length, over 80-inch wingspan, 43.5-inch vertical, 11.2 broad jump, which is nearing combine record stuff, I think.
Yeah, and that's a big person at 6'5", too. I mean, that's like Emiwari numbers plus 3 inches and 25 pounds.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's insane.
That is nuts.
Wow.
So if you're betting today,
he might be a top 5 pick too, by the way.
He might go ahead of Reuben Bain now. And that's what the combine can do for you. Yeah. Both guys were projected to be, pretty high picks in the first place. But wow, okay. Big winner on the linebacker side. Sonny Styles. Don't have a 40 time yet. Not sure if he's running or not. But we're talking defensive linemen here, Matt. So next, let's get into some of the big winners. We've got a 6-pack of winners on the defensive line and some real athletes, especially with some of these big boys at the combine next. Today's episode of NFL 6-Pack is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. 2 flights, 2 tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board thinking, who's going to maybe make a deep run in this NBA playoffs, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Futures are great this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, adds that little extra layer of excitement down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it could send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Here we go. Which defensive lineman, in your opinion, Matt, helped themselves the most at the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine?
I have to think it is Banks.
Yeah.
I talked to several draft picks since I've been here, but talking to a couple of them, I was kind of doing it through a Steeler lens, of course. I'm like, what D tackle would be first overall and still maybe available at 21? And a couple people said Banks will probably be first overall, but he ain't going to be there at 21. And then he did what he did today, and it's like, oh, he's going to go high.
He already kind of had some helium.
Yeah,
and, there's reasons he wasn't really on the radar early, due to some injuries and some other things. And so, but he's just a monster. So 6'2" and
crazy.
So over 6'2", 327 pounds, nearly 11-inch hands, 35-inch arm lengths. I mean, this is just a massive human being here.
Rare wingspan.
Stupid wingspan, 85 and 3/4 inches, and then ran a 5.04. And he was disappointed. He kind of quit his workout early because he said his cleats were hurting his feet. This.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This happens a lot, man. These guys, I always, and it always. It almost bothers me when I see these highly tuned athletes. They get these these brand new cleats and they just throw them on and play. Like,
break them.
I wouldn't. When I was playing, I wouldn't. I needed like 6 months to break in my cleats. That was like it's like getting a baseball glove brand new and being like, okay, let's go play. It's like, no, you got to break this stuff in. And so you're Calvin Johnson. He wasn't going to run the combine. He borrowed somebody else's shoes, and he's like, oh my god. That's insanity. But apparently his cleats were hurting his feet. And he was disappointed in his 5.04. He wanted to be sub 5. So he might run again at his pro day to try to get that 4.99 number. But at his size, to be running that fast.
After a good Senior Bowl and the injury stuff's out of the way.
His vertical was
really good.
His vertical and broad jump were as good as Cassius Howell's were. So,
yeah. And there's some real demand now for D tackles because you want to play that gap and a half and, the lighter boxes. He's going to go early.
And he's not just big. He's got juice to get upfield.
He's not a space eater at all.
Have you done any tape work on Gracen Halton?
No, but I'm That's going to be high on the list. I'll tell you that.
Because everyone's going to be rushing to the Gracen Halton tape out of Oklahoma, 6'2" and 5'8", 293. So an undersized, you would expect to be an athletic rusher. I've got another guy who's a big winner as well. It might as well helped himself as much or more than Gracen Halton here as interior rushers. But Gracen Halton, 6'2" and 5'8", 293 pounds, 10-inch hands, shorter armed, 31 and an eighth. A lot of short arms in this. Maybe there is something to the testing. Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe there's a bad arm tester. Yeah.
By the way, Adam Schefter put out a tweet a little while ago that said basically there were some teams apparently that had Reuben Bain with 32-inch arms, and that there were some questions. And so clearly that's Reuben Bain.
Can we get over this? This is it didn't happen 10 years ago. Like
this happened like just a couple years ago, I think.
I know, but like now it's happening all the time. Like back in the day, there was like people knew how to test arm length. Why do we not know how to do that?
Just have some random person. Hey, Bob, some like
here's a ruler.
Hey, you're doing arm length today for the defensive lineman. Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
So maybe there is something to it. I don't know. Yeah. But it didn't hurt Caleb Banks. So
are his really 37,
38-inch arms?
Right.
But Gracen Halton, 4.82 in the 40. 30.
I think his vertical is the best ever.
Yeah, 36.5-inch vertical for a guy that large is crazy.
That used to be good for a defensive back.
Yeah. And you can tell he's an athlete, knows he's an athlete because he's one of the 5 defensive linemen that ran a shuttle. 4.7.
Yeah, he's gonna. This is his time to shine. And a little undersized. I mean, he's going to be an upfield, win off the snap type guy.
And there's another guy that it's been one of my sleepers in this draft process, and so I'm like,
I know you're not happy,
but I'm also disappointed because I don't know if I can put him in the 4th round and even the 5th round of my mock drafts anymore. But Penn State's Zane Durant, very similar. Interior athletic rusher, ran even faster. He's a little shorter though, 6'1" even for Zane Durant, 290 pounds, big hands, 10 5/8 inches, shorter arms again, 31 and 7/8, 4.75 in the 40, 1.66 in the 10-yard split, which is really good, and that shows up on tape. Like he might only be a rotational rusher in the NFL, but he's going to be an awesome rotational rusher in the NFL. He's a fully formed pass rusher. He's played a ton of snaps at Penn State, and he can get after the quarterback, and he gets upfield quickly. And maybe he's a guy that can't play on, doesn't really have much of a role on early downs, but as a rotational rusher, Zane Durant's your guy.
I mean, these guys are athletic enough that they might be running down on kickoffs after, sort of rookie year.
Yeah.
I mean, they can do that kind of stuff. Yes.
A 290-pounder running 4.75 down. I don't want any part of that.
Right. Blowing people up. Penetrators, instant athletes.
I think we kind of expected David Bailey to shine here at the NFL Scouting Combine, right, Matt? 6'3" and 5/8, 251 pounds, big hands, 10 1/4 inches. 33 3/4 arm length, so that checks the box for sure. Ran a 4.5 flat in the 40-yard dash, 1.62 10-yard split, 35-inch vertical, 10.9 broad jump. Really good workouts for one of Feldman's freaks in David Bailey out of Texas Tech.
Yeah, and he's super productive. And I mean, I got to think he goes ahead of Bain. I mean, could he be the 3rd pick in the draft, or 3rd or 4th pick in the draft now?
Probably the only other argument for the 2nd pick in the draft right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maybe he even challenges Reese if he just won an edge. But what's not to like with this guy now? I mean, he was a huge winner.
And I could see Robert Saleh in the Titans wanting more of a speed element across from Jermaine Johnson, who's more of a power player. Could even see David Bailey still going 4, whereas Reuben Bain maybe not quite as much anymore.
Yeah, I definitely think he goes ahead of Bain. I'm with you there.
Let's see. How many is that? We have, Lee Hunter is the other one.
Hunter's the other one, yeah.
Yeah. First of all, Hunter was great on TV with his personality. Just a fun guy, just being a goofball, giving looks to the camera during his workouts, but worked out phenomenally for such a big man. Where are we at here with Lee Hunter?
6'3.5" to
318. 6'3.5", 318. So big boy, can handle taking on double teams. Calls him twofers in his interviews at the Combine. Taking on twofers, Lee Hunter can do it. 33 1/4 arm length, 80-inch wingspan, 5'18" in the 40 for a guy that's built like a more of a nose tackle is a great number there too. So good workouts for Lee Hunter. Not so much in the jumps, but as far as getting his body moving at his size, solid.
Yeah, I think he's a modern day nose. We had some conversations today with Dane and a lot of these different draft nicks that think, originally Texas Tech kind of had him as a hold the point, handle those double teams, and let Rodriguez and all those guys do their work. And then they realized we got to unleash him because he's got some pass rush juice to him too. So he's not just a plugger nose guy.
Absolutely. Where is my guy? Malachi Lawrence, UCF. 6'4" even, 253 pounds, 33 and 5/8 inch arm length, ran a 4.52 with a 1.59 split. Looks like the second fastest, just 1/100th slower than Cassius Howell in his 10-yard split, but had a better 40-yard dash time than Cassius Howell, and a 40-inch vertical as well from Malachi Lawrence, edge rusher, super athletic guy. My first pass through the tape on Malachi Lawrence, I wasn't blown away, although he is good at getting after the quarterback and has been productive. I want to see if he plays to that speed when I go back and watch, because clearly he can get the corner, but those are elite numbers, and might be somebody they have to start talking about in the first round if that's the case. If you hit height, weight, speed, arm length, and are that caliber of athlete, that's what teams are looking for, Matt.
Yeah, and I probably should have opened the show with saying I think the combine is most important for these two position groups of any in the league. So maybe his tape isn't great, but the D-line coach watches this guy and be like, he's got things I can't teach, and the great ones have the juice,
Yeah, I want that. Like, give me that, and I'll coach him up and make sure he's got the rest of it on point. There you go. That's our 6 biggest winners from the scouting combine on the defensive line. More to break down as it pertains to the defense and the offensive guys who are going to work out this weekend. We'll get to a little bit more of it tomorrow on defense, or actually on Saturdays when we're going to reconvene.
Yeah, I'm traveling like crazy tomorrow, folks. Sorry.
Matt's traveling on Friday. So we're going to have our end week show on Saturday, and then we will come back on Monday and break down everything we saw from the offensive side of the ball in these workouts as well. So stay tuned here. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts to the NFL Six Pack.